Hi Math, I'm Andy. Today I want to take a look at negative exponents and negative numbers. I've got a lot of questions from students just about how does this all work? What's going on with the negative? So we'll do a couple of examples. Let's say, for instance, I want to figure out what is negative 4 to the negative 2 power. Now, there's a couple of different rules that are happening here. The first off is the negative exponent rule. We have this rule that says any number raised to a negative exponent, really it's the reciprocal of that value. So again, a negative exponent doesn't necessarily produce a negative number. What it does, it's more of a movement. So I think of negative exponents as movements. Now it works in the same way, and we'll look at this later, but when you have a negative exponent that's in your denominator, this again is a movement. So it changes places and it would move up, it would become positive, and then that denominator space would be whatever. It would be a 1 in this case. So this whole thing didn't flip. This 1 technically is still there, but we're talking about this term moved upstairs. So going back to our example, negative 4 to a negative 2 power, well, the first thing I'm going to do is apply that negative exponent rule, and I'm going to rewrite this. So this is really 1 over negative 4, and it's now become a positive 2. So that negative exponent took the term and it moved it down. Now we're going to apply our exponent rule as regular. Because this negative 4 is in parentheses, that value is negative 4. So really what this question is saying is negative 4 times negative 4, and we end up with a positive 1 over 16. So negative 4 in parentheses to a negative power has a value of 1 over 16. But let's just kind of look at this example and let's take away those parentheses. What if I just had negative 4 to the negative 2 power? So again, this is almost identical, except those parentheses are missing, and that's going to be really crucial. What this is now actually implying is this negative is being multiplied by this 4 that's being raised to the negative 2 power. So because that negative 4 isn't wrapped in parentheses, we're going to follow our order of operations, which would say we should do the exponents before we do the multiplication. So now, following our exponent rule, that negative 1 is still there. It's now being multiplied by 1 over 4 to a positive 2 power. So again, that negative exponent brings that whole term down into my denominator. We'll do the exponent work following our order of operations. So it's still negative 1 times 1 over 16, 4 times 4. And then negative 1 times 1 over 16 has a value of negative 1/16. So notice we kind of ended up with the same but opposite answer. When we had it in parentheses, we thought of it as a negative 4 value. When it was out of parentheses, we thought of it as a positive 4 value multiplied by a negative 1. So we have some negative exponents and some negative numbers. Let's take this a step further. So take a look at this. I'm going to erase it. We'll leave our exponent rule there. And let's do something where our negatives are now in our denominator. So how about we use an example of like 3 over negative 2 to the negative 3rd power. So we want to simplify 3 over negative 2 to the negative 3rd power. So because this is 3 being divided, we have negative 2 in parentheses raised to a negative 3. Again, we can think of this negative 2 as that value negative 2. So the first thing I'm going to do is apply the negative exponent rule. So that's going to take that term, -2 to the third, and it's going to move it up into the numerator. So the 3 is still going to be in my numerator, and now this -2 has moved up, and the exponent is now positive. And now there's nothing left in our denominator. It's all moved. And so we can kind of think of it as over 1. But then since all whole numbers are over 1, that kind of will just fade away. So we don't really need to worry about our denominator anymore. Now let's kind of simplify what exactly is happening upstairs. Well, the 3 is still being multiplied, and now I have this -2 to the third power, which really represents -2 times -2 times -2. And now this is multiplication. We can do it in any order we want. We know that -2 times -2 is +4. +4 times -2 is -8. And -8 times 3 is -24. So to simplify 3 over -2 to the -3rd, first we followed our negative exponent rule, then we did our exponents, and then we did our multiplication. We ended up with a negative answer. So kind of one thing to notice, when you have a negative number raised to an odd power, you're going to get a negative value. And when you have a negative number raised to an even value, you'll probably end up with a positive value. So that's some negative exponents and negative numbers, which was a big confusion by some students. So thank you for your questions. Keep them coming.